Welcome to the Focus Sessions, Africa's online safety TV show, broadcasting once every 2 months on this frequency. My name is Tom Kok and I'm the director of the AVAssist Foundation. The AVAssist Foundation has been promoting aviation safety in Africa since 1995. In our Focus Sessions, we inform, inspire and entertain African aviation safety. We talk about things that are crucial if we want to raise the bar on safety in Africa, and we introduce you to inspiring safety professionals. Today's focus session is dedicated to airport firefighting, in recognition of International Firefighters Day. We'll look at how we can learn from everyday work to improve safety in airport firefighting, and how we can improve performance of airport fire services. Leonie Boscoljon is the head of occurrence investigation at the Royal Netherlands Air Force, and is involved with better learning from occurrences, from incidents. Welcome, Leonie, to the table today.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here. We also want to give you a little insight into exciting new developments. Virtual reality is making some of the most effective learning possible across the globe. Jos Nijenhuis from fire truck manufacturer Kenbury is here to tell us a little bit about what virtual reality training in firefighting can look like. So, Jos, welcome to the studio as well.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you as well, all the way from the south of the Netherlands, I think. We're joined online by Senior Fire Officer Stella Mutala from right next door, the beautiful Victoria Waterfalls in Zambia at Livingston International Airport. Welcome, Stella. Great to have you all the way from south of the equator.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's great to be here.
Yes, there's a bit of a delay. Great to have you, Stella. Welcome. But we'll start today with some ideas about good but cheap firefighting training modules that you can implement at your fire station within a few days or weeks. In a moment, our Chief Fire Instructor Jan Huizing will explain all about the why and how of affordable training methods. Jan, welcome to the table as well.
Thank you, Tom.
Good to have you as well.
Yeah, glad to be here.
It'll make a nice mixed company here, I think, and mixed expertise. Welcome to you all. Now, before we get started, let me give you a little bit of information about our popular prize draw. For the regular viewers, it's a familiar procedure, but we're always welcoming new viewers for whom this great chance is new. In the prize draw, you have a chance to win $100 in cash in each episode. And we do this for two reasons. The first is that the game will give you some insights into what inspires my guests here at the table. And the second is simple. It gives you a chance to win $100. You'll see a web address at the bottom of the screen. And at that page, you can submit the 3 letters that I will give you throughout the broadcast, and that together form a 3-letter code. Every 10 minutes or so, we'll show you one of the favorite books of a guest here at the table. All you have to do is write down the first letter of the first name of the author, and you'll end up with a 3-letter code. You enter these 3 letters on the Google form page and then click Submit. Now here's the trick. You can only submit your 3-letter code until 15 minutes after the end of this focus session. And then from amongst the correct answers, we'll draw one lucky winner and send that person her or his $100 by mobile money. We'll announce the winner on our LinkedIn page, so that's a good reason to follow us on LinkedIn. Let's start by giving you an impression of the work of AVAssist with this beautiful video made for us here at the Teta Studios.
Africa, a continent on the rise. Africa is the world's second biggest air transport growth market, and there is a lot to do. Africa is in the process of giving the continental aviation industry a place on the world map on all fronts. This requires unprecedented efforts, even more so in a post-COVID-19 recovery. It means eliminating a backlog, but also respecting sustainability and CO2 emissions, building safety on the ground and in the air with technical and operational training. More than ever, international cooperation is vital to give what is arguably the most important economic link between Africa and the rest of the world, connecting people across the vast distances in Africa. an essential link, and that's why there is AVI Assist. Africa and AVI Assist. We have been leading, building and supporting safety promotion for the African aviation industry since 1995. Affordable, independent and professional. We stand up for aviation safety in Africa. We change attitudes and produce safety. Our professionals support African professionals, and we do it with passion by delivering on-site and online courses across Africa and more. AVI Assist. Join us in Kigali or anywhere else on the continent. The African aviation industry needs you right now, more than ever. AVI Assist.
That gives you a little bit of an insight into the world of AVI Assist. Now, back to today's topic. On International Firefighters Day, the world recognizes and honors the sacrifices that firefighters make across the world to ensure that their communities and their environment are as safe as possible. It's also a day in which current and past firefighters can be thanked for their contribution. We'll be talking about how we can improve airport firefighting training with limited funds. Airport firefighters don't have to attend many real fires because our industry is relatively safe. Volunteer city fire brigades do not yet exist in many African countries. And this may mean that African airport firefighters may have had limited exposure to real fires. In Europe, airport firefighters often volunteer in the city fire brigade in their town, where they get the real fire experience. And so, for example, practical experience with using breathing apparatus is limited at some airports. At the same time, the breathing apparatus is crucial for airport firefighters. A little bit of background before we get stuck into airport firefighting. Both the International Civil Aviation Organization, our guiding light on safety, and AVI Assist noticed a few years back that many airport authorities were allocating resources for the procurement of firefighting trucks, but many were not allocating the required resources to buy rescue tools, provide adequate training of personnel, and buy protective materials such as helmets, boots and suits. In addition to causing the facility to be very inefficient or even plainly ineffective, the morale of personnel is negatively affected. Now Jan, let's start with you. When I first met you at the airport some 15 years ago, that airport had a lot of good but cheap, affordable practice tools available, much more than I've seen at many major European airports. Why was this? Tell us a bit about the reason for that choice.
Well, actually, the airport where I worked didn't have much money, so we have to be keen on what we do. And we thought, how can we practice on the right way without a big wallet of money? So we decided to build a lot of stuff our own, and we built an airplane from an old fuel truck.
Okay.
And also a lot of small things like a helicopter from an old oil drum, and so on. So we made it ourselves.
As the airport, so you didn't buy it externally from
No, as the
company?
airport. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So of course we went to the big exercise grounds in the Netherlands as well, like Schiphol or from the Royal Air Force at Woensrecht. But the weekly exercises we did on our own terrain, and we used the equipment we built ourselves.
And one of the items, one of the practice tools I remember vividly seeing for the first time for me, because of course I'm not a firefighter, which really appealed to us and also to the places we've given the course, is the tabletop exercises. We have a short video available that shows one of these practicing tools, in fact the tabletop exercise. Let's have a quick look at that video.
Safe outside. You can deploy each hose line to each side. One hose line each side, one hose line each side. Then the one deploy to your left, and then the two also to your right. Thank you, Dollar Tower. We are under control. Dollar Tower, we are under control.
Okay, copy that. Under control. I will inform the company.
Everything is safe. And you're finished.
So Jan, what were we looking at just now?
Yeah, it's a tabletop exercise, and a tabletop exercise is really good to train the tactics and the deployment things of airport rescue and firefighting. And we use, as you can see, a small plane and toys like Lego and trucks.
Other brands are available, I have to say, of course. Then
Yeah. Actually, we brought it with us from the Netherlands, but we also did tabletops with only water bottles and wooden blocks and so on. So you can easily do it on every location wherever you are. And those tabletop exercise gives you a good opportunity to train in practice as well, because you can train the things on the table and then go outside and do it in real practice.
Yeah. I'll come to you in a moment, Leonie, about what you've seen like that at the Air Force. But what I want to also stress is that initially people might think, well, you know, that's Africa because they are poor, they have to use toys. But I was surprised to see that, you know, even at your own airport, other places I've been, they use those same tools. So it has nothing to do with, you know, being perceived as poor. It's just a very efficient way, right, of dealing with.
Yeah, that's correctly. We're still using it, and actually that's where Jos comes in. There's some change, like the virtual reality things. But the tabletop is very cheap and it works very well, so we still use it.
Yeah, we'll come to that link indeed, Jos, later on about, you know, how maybe virtual reality will take over some of the role of those things. But first, Leonie, now like me, you're not a firefighter as such, but you have done research at firefighters at the Air Force. Did you see similar things there as well, similar tools being used?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I must say, it looks brilliant, actually. we struggle with money issues every now and then, depending on the political climate. So it might be a good idea to remember this.
Yeah, and like I said, I must say, initially, the reaction we got in Africa is people thought, wow, they bring toys to Africa. Well, the rest of the world has expensive stuff. And I was really surprised to see, I saw the same at Belfast Airport once. So maybe it's something you can introduce at the Air Force.
Absolutely. I most certainly will.
Okay, then I think we have a clip of another excellent but cheap training tool with the next video. Let's have a quick look at that next video.
Row number 7 Alpha. Row number 7 Alpha.
So Jan, talk us through it briefly if you can. What do we see here?
Yeah, actually, that was a training where we used the old staff bus because there was no plane to train in, and we saw an old bus at the airport ground. He didn't work anymore, and we said, well, actually, there's a plane. So in the bus you have a small aisle and seats on both sides. So we said, well, we can use it as a bus. So what you saw in the video was that we had some of the firefighters who were acting as a victim.
Yeah.
But we also used old overalls and put grass and old how do you call it?
Rags
in it,
yeah.
And make them to victims as well. And we blindfolded the firefighters to simulate that they were in a smoky area. And then we learned them how to search and how to count the rows and the seats and so on, so they can rescue people who are still stuck in the plane. And actually it worked quite well. The exercise gave them the idea they were in real in emergency situation, and even with the smoke we generated later, it worked out quite well.
And again, a tool that you use at your own airport, right? The blindfolds is again not a case of Africa has to do it with blindfolds.
Yeah, actually, when you have your BA on, like the face mask, the breathing apparatus, and you have the face mask, we use blindfolds, but you also can use a plastic bag to put over your head because you can't breathe. You can breathe because the breathing apparatus as well. True. So and that won't cost anything, and then you can see anything, and you have to do it all on by searching by hands and feet using.
And communicating with each other as two firemen, or in this case ladies, going in.
Exactly, and you have to count the rows because every time you have a victim you go out of the plane, you must know where you left the last one, because otherwise it will take too much time to search again. So don't start from the beginning on.
Yeah, so you know you've already covered the first 7 rows or whatever.
Exactly.
Brilliant example of virtual reality avant la lettre, I think, early stages of virtual reality. I'll come to you, Jos, in a moment, but first it's time for our first book for all you people out there who want a chance to earn $100. The first book that we have today was taken by Leonie. Turn the ship around. There's a nice submarine at the bottom, but the most important thing for you out there is the first letter of the first name of the author, which in this case is the L, the Lima, as we say in aviation. So Lima as the first letter for the code. Right, Jos, we'll explore the topic of virtual reality a bit later on in the broadcast, but what do you think in terms of what you see normally in your virtual reality products in relation to these type of practical tools?
Well, what I just saw is that the tabletop exercises you do, I think virtual reality could be a great addition to what is being shown to us. For instance, if you have the scenarios on the tabletop, you can strategically position your people, and then in addition, you could bring that to virtual reality to actually go into the scenario and train those exercises you have just been taught on the tabletop exercise.
Yeah. Put them into the computer if you like.
Exactly.
Well, like I said, we'll cover the virtual reality a bit later. We'll have an example to look at as well. But and please, if you want to complement whatever somebody else is saying from your experience, feel free to do so. Leonie, you have been involved not just in airport firefighting, but in seeing how firefighters, for example, can learn to improve their training. Anything that comes to mind from you, maybe a tip to the viewers as to how they could go about learning, the process of learning?
The process of learning, well, I think most key to the process of learning is asking the people who actually do the work. That would be key from my perspective, because every now and then we like to assist and support operators, and the support usually comes from what James Reason calls the blunt end, so people not doing the work but have a different specialty, like safety, for instance. But the support you might be provided to the operators might actually hamper their task execution, because you don't understand their dynamics or the complexities of the work they're doing.
But of course you could say that's obvious. You have to ask people that operate equipment.
Yeah, that might seem obvious, but
okay.
it doesn't seem that obvious in practice, actually. Because if everything goes well, there's no need to ask them, how are you doing your job, and how maybe assist. And if something goes wrong, then we also don't ask the question, how are you doing the job? Because that's the time that we bring the specialized people who know a lot about investigations, and they start looking at the situation from their perspective. So overall, I've learned over the last 20 years that asking the question, how are you doing your job and how may I help you, is not often asked.
What is hampering the work you're trying to do, for example? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think to remember also, which might be interesting, I think, for the African audience out there, some of the research you've been involved in with Robert Jan de Boer, who we'll speak to in another episode as well. But you also seem to highlight that to observe how people are actually doing their work, you could also use students, for example, and just have them, sit and observe how people do their work. Is that something that has worked in some of the research you've been involved in, or that you've looked at least?
I've had a lot of interns, and the good thing about interns is, they're very enthusiastic, of course, in the work, but they ask questions that colleagues might not dare to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there might be this little scrutiny, or thinking, oh, I should know this because I'm in this organization for so many years. And interns don't have that kind of shyness.
Inhibition.
Yeah, inhibition.
They're more innocent.
So they ask every question.
Yeah, I think that's a good word.
Yeah. And I actually try to be an intern myself every time I do an investigation, and try to be like an intern and ask every question that comes to mind.
Ask stupid questions.
Stupid questions, yes.
They don't exist. I've always learned there are stupid answers, but there are no stupid questions, basically.
Yes. So my only job, as I see it, is to make sure I understand the work people are doing, and as long as I do not understand it, it's not because it's difficult or because it's only because I haven't asked the right questions yet.
Yeah. And I think, what's very interesting about these students is that perhaps even more so in Africa and other regions as well, but we only work in Africa, more so than here, there are so many students who are keen to get work experience because, of course, the competition in Africa for jobs is far higher than here. Mm-hmm. So it may be a great opportunity for students to set themselves apart, and for airports like Stella's Airport, Zambian Airports Corporation. I think they also already use interns in various places, Stella, right? Not just in relation to airport firefighting, but it seems to be becoming more common.
Yes, Tom. Of late, we've been having quite a number of interns, like even for firefighting. Almost all the airports now, we have some interns. So the job search is quite high. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Stella. Before we continue the discussion, let's give our viewers out there an opportunity to know a little bit about our practical airport rescue and firefighters course that we normally run once per year in Africa. A bit of a commercial for what we do. Let's have a look at this short video. This video was obviously made a few years back, but I hope it brings across the energy we try to put in the course, thanks to volunteers, professional volunteers like yourself, Jan, and we saw one of our former instructors, AJ Hoeksema, and I'm sure Stella recognized some of the places we shot that video in Zambia. So if you're interested in hosting an edition of this course at your airport to provide you with lots of training in 1 week, including night exercises, etc., as well as a learning review of your fire brigade's performance, please get in touch with us for more information and to book the training. Now, before we go to Stella, let me bring up the second book, because I can see people out there are eager for this $100. The second book is Life Safari, and it's written by John Strictly. So what's important for the viewers out there is the first letter of the first name, which is the J for Juliet. That's your book, I think, Jan?
Yeah, it is.
Briefly, why did you take this book along to the studio today?
Yeah, actually, I think it's a great book. It really helped me a lot in a period of my life when I was struggling with happiness. And I got a book from someone. He said, you have to read it. It's a really good one and it might help you. And actually it did. So, yeah, the book is special for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of us are of a different generation than others at this table, I guess. And we have our virtual reality training specialist, Jos, here.
Exactly.
Who is very much into computers and visual stuff. So a suggestion perhaps for you,
well,
Jos?
could be, maybe.
Because you secretly divulged that you're not much of a reader.
Well,
but this is...
It's quite small and quite...
And it reads really nicely. I follow your suggestion. I read it as well.
Yeah.
it could be interesting, but I would prefer the tablet then.
The tablet, yeah. Or the video version of it.
Exactly.
The audiobook.
It could be easier, actually.
Perfect. Well, now it's time to go to Stella. As I mentioned before, a senior fire officer at Livingston International Airport, Harry Mokambula Airport. That's part of the Zambian Airports Corporation. For a story that she recorded for us before about one of the practical changes that the Zambian Airports Corporation has made to improve fire prevention. Stella, over to your video.
Hello everyone. My name is Stella Mutale from Zambia Airports Corporation, Harry Mwangankumbula International Airport in Livingston, Zambia. I'm in charge of Rescue Fire Services as a Senior Fire Officer. First and foremost, I would like to thank Aviassist Foundation through Tom Cook for giving me this opportunity to share one or two things about Rescue Fire Services. And I've picked on the topic first aid fire appliances, which are called FAFAs. What are first aid fire appliances? These are appliances that are readily available, strategically located, and easily accessible. Like I can give you an example of here at the airport, the whole terminal building, the shops, the concourse, you'd find that we've strategically put the FAFAs there, which is the first aid fire appliances. But why should we put these things strategically? In case of a fire, anyone can easily access them and put up a fire. As you may be aware, that when a fire starts and it's easily attacked right there and then it won't spread. By the time the rescue fire services are coming in, the fire would have been contained. But if it is not, we don't have those FAFAs around, then you'd find that by the time the fire service is coming in, the fire would have spread. And how do we take care of these things? I remember some time back, even in our firefighters training, the emphasis is so much about looking after these small appliances. Even when we did our courses with ARFF, and thank you so much for the trainings that we've been having so far, the emphasis was on really taking care on these small appliances, because those are the things that can really help us in case of fire. There was an emphasis of looking after them, doing some checkups every now and then, and that's what we've been doing. But here in Livingstone, we've taken it up to be doing it weekly, because this place is usually very hot. The weather sometimes is just so much that it even goes to about 40 degrees. So you'd find that the firefighting, first aid fire appliances, they won't be in very good condition if you wait for the 3 months, because we do our quarterly servicing of the FAFAs every 3 months. So we took it upon ourselves, because we were having challenges here and there. You find that when you want to use them, in case there's a fire, they wouldn't perform so well. So we took it upon ourselves and said, well, let's try to be doing it weekly. So every week, specifically every Friday, we go around all the 100 points where we have these first aid fire appliances. And to crown it all, we ensure that even the tenants, those who work at the airport, we do awareness on how to use these first aid fire appliances. And every quarter of the year, there's a company that comes in now to service those first aid fire appliances. And I remember there was in 2012, when we had a training, I was privileged to be part of it. I was in Lusaka by then, where we even had the lead instructor, Chief Sajan, who came to Lusaka some time back. There was one component that they taught us, which is called clock positioning. This has really helped us in case of an aircraft emergency on how to position our fire appliances, because up to now we still have them even in the vehicles. We've stuck them on the screens, so that even when an instruction is given that park at 9, that fire truck with its personnel, they will know where to park. So thank you very much, ARFF, for this opportunity, even for the training that we've been having with ARFF. Thank you so much, Tom, and we're looking forward to having more. Thank you so much, and bye.
Thank you very much, Stella, for that video message which you recorded before. And actually, Jan and I had some exercises to find out what FAFAs mean, because it was not a very common concept here. It's basically the small extinguishers. So it's a nice abbreviation, I think, the FAFAs. And actually, Stella, I think you're coming to us today from Kasama Airport, right? Which is a smaller airfield in the far northeast of Zambia. Do you see a similar trend, hopefully, to those practical exercises with affordable means at smaller airfields like that?
Definitely, Tom. I think this place really needs such, because, as we've just taken over the aerodrome as Zambia Airport. So I was actually having a chat with the person in charge here, that what they really need in terms of training. And I think with such, it can really be very helpful.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Because just to explain for the viewers, Zambian Airports Corporation used to run the 4 major airports, international airports in Zambia, and now has taken on the responsibility also for those provincial aerodromes, which indeed probably have, you know, a situation I think like yours, Jan, where there is less funding, you know, and you have to be pragmatic about how you go about it.
Yeah.
Let's go to virtual reality. You know, we've spoken about the tabletops and. In a way that is reality. It's not even virtual reality perhaps, but on a small scale.
Yeah.
So that brings me to you, Jos, because we also wanted to make sure that, you know, the firefighters in Africa, the staff that's watching, gets information about exciting new opportunities that virtual reality training is bringing to firefighting. Because it's important that also those firefighters, you know, they're not excluded from the latest technology. Tell us briefly, what is that virtual reality training all about?
Well, it's basically it's a reality environment which you create by a computer model, in which you can simulate scenarios, all kinds of scenarios, and where you get the immersive feeling you are in a real life situation, without having the risk of getting accidents or anything like that. So you can do it in a very safe environment. You can use it in a classroom with enough space, where you don't have any risk to injure yourself, or or go in a situation that you don't want to be, and you can do the exercises in a safe and responsible manner.
And also very affordable. I mean, of course, yes, you have to purchase the virtual reality environment.
Exactly.
But once you have that in place...
Yeah, it's a one-time investment, excluding the updates, which annually comes, but for the different scenarios. But yeah, basically, it's a one-time investment, which you can use over and over again. And you can keep on training all kinds of scenarios, and you can learn the routines of the activities you have to do during an exercise.
Yep. Okay. Actually, we have a short clip available about what such a virtual reality training could look like. One of the systems that is available. Let's have a look at that video.
The Flame Trainer is a technology that's been developed by Flame Systems that enables firefighters to train virtually but experience reality. We can put firefighters into dangerous, difficult and challenging scenarios in a safe and practical manner. We've been working with the fire industry to develop a range of training scenarios, everything from aircraft accidents through to structural fires and car fires. To do this, we're generating realistic smoke and fire effects, even down to the foam effects that we create for some of our fog nozzles and foam nozzles. So this enables realistic training using realistic smoke, fire and water effects that we don't see anywhere else. Our patented Flame Trainer system has been developed using next generation technologies. We're using advanced head-mounted displays to display realistic renders of fire, water and smoke effects in our training scenario.
So that gave us a little bit of insight into virtual reality. You took one of those head-mounted displays with us, Jos. I don't think we'll put it on today, but basically the idea is like a cap, you put this on your head.
Exactly.
And then what you see inside here is the scenario, basically.
Exactly. Inside this glass is a computer with a monitor display, so it brings you a big close-up to the monitor display, and that gives you the impression that you are in a real-life situation.
Now, I guess one of the challenges that Jan and I, based on our work and experience, might think of is that's all very nice, you know, but it's how affordable is that for the African situation? Now, we don't have to go into the prices of the products you sell, but could you see? I would imagine with virtual reality over time, these systems will become more available, possibly or not, and make it a bit more affordable as well. Or?
Yeah, exactly. We already see a development going to be more price attractive. In the early stage of virtual reality, it was only for developers, so it was quite expensive. But now we see, because it gets more into mainstream, people grow up with this technique. So you can see now a development in the right direction, and it's getting cheaper over the years now.
And I think there's also a great opportunity for Africa there, because they call, for example, Kenya, they call, instead of Silicon Valley, they call the Savannah Valley, you know, because there are plenty of places in Africa now where you have very good IT youngsters who can maybe even work with Cambridge to produce something that, you know, is even more affordable and accessible for places where Stella now sits, for example, in Kasama.
Yeah,
and even the system asked for an investment, but you can spare on the costs of the exercises for all the years. Like for us, when I worked at Groningen, when we do virtual reality, it saved us the trip to the exercise areas.
With 10 people perhaps, or
Yeah, then we even exercise in Copenhagen, so we went by plane, and with virtual reality, those costs can easily be reduced.
And the beauty is that you can include your own airfield in an environment, so you can actually do the training
as if you're on your own airport. Yeah,
exactly.
Now, I think we're also touching upon a very interesting point. I'm looking at Stella as well now, where I sometimes feel that Africa stands a bit in the way of its own progress when it comes to safety, because of course, or maybe you around the table, Jan knows, I think, from all these years, but it's very financially attractive for people in Africa to travel to other countries, which is a topic that people don't like to talk about, but we as AWS feel we have to bring this to the agenda, so they might actually be very keen to go to Copenhagen or whatever, because it brings a fantastic allowance, and they would go for a week and they would triple their monthly salary. Yeah. So that's I can see Stella laughing there. I won't ask you for any comments at this point, Stella, but no. But I think it is something, increasingly we see that there is this interest to bring these facilities and bring that training closer to home. And I think your point is very valid, Jan, that yes, I have no clue, but let's say you have to spend a couple of $10,000 to buy a system like that. Yeah. But if that means you save, thousands of dollars each year for not having to travel to South Africa or Singapore, or Leonie, any experience in the Air Force that you saw with virtual reality?
No, not that I'm aware of, but...
There's a potential customer there.
No, but at Woensrecht, we already installed a system like that, and they're already using it. So it's actually what you saw on the video. It's the Flame Trainer, and they are quite happy with the whole system.
I trained with it. Yeah. And actually, it was like real time. I really got sweaty and so on, and really was getting into the game, because you saw also the hose line they had, and every time you open the hose line, you
get a pushback.
You get a pushback from that, and I even wore a heat
vest.
So when I go too close to the fire, it really burns my nipples.
Let's not go there. But what I do remember though from the talk we had before is those are, if you like, upgrades, right? Because those are the more expensive parts of the where you have the heat sensing and you have the
breathing apparatus.
You can also start with a smaller version.
Exactly. Yeah. You can start more or less with a model like that, and it brings the whole scenario onto the glasses. You have the controllers that comes with it. And from there on, you can build and extend your VR simulation.
But Stella, it will draw upon people like you to help with those systems, because it's very easy and very popular to buy a system in Africa, because it means a factory acceptance test and all these things. But what is really required is once it's there, just like the fire trucks, make sure that it stays up to date, make sure it's actually being used instead of just sitting in a corner. A great opportunity, I think, for youngsters. Mm-hmm. You agree?
Yes, that's true.
and you have to be one of our champions there, Stella, I think, on that respect.
Definitely.
Right, well, we're coming towards the end of this episode, but not before I give you the third book, which is actually the favorite book of Stella. It is Eat, Pray, Love. And again, the only thing you have to do out there is take note of the first letter, the E for Echo. So that will make the third letter in your 3-letter code. We'll have to talk about why you chose this book at some other point in time, Stella, unless you have a 30-second explanation for it.
Well, it's just a woman's search for everything. It just helped me out on one or two things when, just as my chief officer mentioned, there was a time I was going through some challenges, but when I was given this book, it really helped me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that transparency. That's very nice to hear, both from you as well, Jan, but also from Stella, I think. Because, that's, like I said, what we'd like to do. We want to show that safety professionals are also just people. It's very easy to think we are robots just aiming for safety, but there's a person behind the scene. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all we have time for.
Already?
Yeah, yeah. Time goes so quickly, at least for me, in those sessions. But we have to keep it snappy and we have to stay in focus. And we can always look at doing a second episode about firefighting somewhere later in the year. I can see Stella not. So you have to come to, not to Kasama then, but to Hilversum, which is near Amsterdam. We'll try and realize that one day. Thank you very much for joining me here in the focus sessions, and thank you, Stella, for joining you from Kasama, Northwest, quite remote actually in Zambia. Then to you, the lovely viewers out there from Nigeria to Kenya, from Rwanda to Zambia, thank you for tuning in for Safety Promotion. If you enjoyed today's focus session, please be our ambassador and tell all your friends and colleagues about the work of AVI-Assist. If you want to help us continue these focus sessions, consider becoming a friend of AVI-Assist. You can do that in our web shop, www.aviassist.org/shop. And you can pay the $50 that would cost per year in many ways, including mobile money, which is very popular in Africa. So we're also trying to listen to our customers. And your support will go a long way. Or come and visit us at our first AVI-Assist Safety Promotion Center, the ASPC Rwanda at the University of Rwanda. Lots of exciting courses coming up there later this year. And lastly, I'd like to invite you to visit our stand in Abuja, Nigeria, on the 13th and 14th of September at the event of our partners, Times Aerospace, and the event is called Aviation Africa 2023. If you Google that, you'll find it. And please don't forget, only you can target safety. Join us here for the next focus session as we continue our mission with you to improve African aviation safety. Same time, same frequency. For now, we say Odabo to our Yoruba listeners and have a good day to the rest of you. Take care.